Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV, More Than Meets the Third Eye. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, let's go ahead and give the video a like and a share. Remember, it doesn't cost you a single thing. Okay, so I figure since today it's Halloween, we'll talk about the origins of Halloween. All right. So I may have talked about this before, I don't recall, but we're also going to be looking at some videos about some nefarious things that supposedly happen on Halloween. All right. And so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Shout out to everybody in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. Okay, I'm just getting some pictures. I'm just uploading some pictures to share on the screen. Almost done. Let me just get a couple more. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, here we go. Thank you for your patience. All right. All right. So shout out to all the Stardusters in the chat. Now, so we're going to be talking about this stuff. And like I said, I have some videos that I'm going to let you all see. We'll get to that momentarily. So without further ado, let me pull this up real quick. Okay. First and foremost, why are witches associated with Halloween? Do I want to start there? Okay, so yeah, we'll start right there. Why are witches associated with Halloween? Anyone ever wonder about that or venture to guess? Now, we know that witches who practice dark magic who engage in rituals and things like that. Well, of course they like Halloween because you see, Halloween has an energy about it. Okay. This is also the time that some priests who perform exorcisms choose to do so because they feel like there's a lifting of the veil or a thinning of the veil during Halloween. And that these spirits are out and about during this holiday. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. All right, so as with many festivals and traditions, Halloween can trace its roots back to the Druids. Okay, the Celtic Druids. Now, if you know anything about the stuff I've told you all before about Hollyweird, and you know how they got the name Hollywood actually from the wood from the holly tree, that all started with the Celtic Druids. Okay, they were using that wood many, many years ago. All right, centuries ago. So anyway, you can trace its roots back to the Druids, the Celtic people who lived in Ireland more than a millennia ago. Now, the Celts believed that Halloween, known then as Samhain, was the night that the veil between the spirit realm and the living was at its thinnest, allowing spirits and other supernatural forces to descend and cause mischief or harm. Okay, now the ancient Celts, people were transformed into cats as a punishment for their bad deeds. Those unfortunate enough to be cursed by black magic were also turned into cats, particularly black cats. Hence that old saying, you know, where people say, if a black cat walks past your across your path, that's bad luck. And now let's talk about the Catholic conversion. Okay, after the Roman takeover, the Catholics began converting the Celts. Now, the two belief systems then merged. Okay, so the church turned witches, those that ancient people looked to for wisdom and medicine, well, they just turned them into devil worshiping hags. Okay, it was believed that witches could turn into cats, you know, basically shape shifting. All right, and that's another reason why they have these connections about the black cats and Halloween and all of those things. Okay, so they could turn into cats, specifically black ones, and other animals such as bats and spiders. Okay, these companion creatures are what we now call familiars, those familiar spirits, which we talked about weeks ago, a couple of months ago. And if you missed that video, please go back and watch. Now, it wasn't until the 1400s that witch hysteria spread across Europe. More than 100,000 people were accused of witchcraft, with upward of 50,000 being executed, most by hanging. But those killed during the Spanish Inquisition were burned at the stake. And mind you, some of these people weren't even witches, okay, as I told you before. And also, what they don't talk about during the Salem witch trials is that the first ones accused of being witches were black women, okay, and some of them also were they lost their lives as well. Now, and here's the thing. You see, some of the people accused of being witches weren't witches. They were people who were prophetic, people who had spiritual gifts, people who could foretell the future, people who knew about astrology and things like that. Now, some of these people, you know, that have been accused throughout history, and I'm not talking about necessarily the Salem witch trials, but I'm just saying that throughout history, some of the people that were accused were absolutely dabbling in black magic, but at the same time, there were some who were not. Okay, so let's talk about the witch hysteria. America's witch scare, which culminated in the infamous Salem witch trials, were largely the end of the mass hysteria and the killing of accused witches. While there were autumn festivals that included the telling of ghost stories and other creepy traditions, it wasn't until the influx of Irish immigrants that came to America in the 19th century that Halloween, as we know it today, began to take root. Now, the mixing of Irish and English customs, such as jack-o'-lanterns costumes, going door to door, asking for money or candy and treats, that all led to the current incarnation of Halloween. Speaking of that, I forgot to put a note on my door telling the kids that I'm not giving out candy. So I hope they don't start ringing the bell, because they start a little early these days. Now, many young women especially believed in Halloween. They believed that it was the best day for divination and would often seek out fortune tellers to find out the names of their future husbands. Now, this mashup of traditions and beliefs across millennia led to witches becoming a symbol of a holiday celebrating macabre. Okay, that's what it is, a holiday to celebrate the macabre. Okay, now some people like all these old scary stories and all that stuff. You know, the stories about witches flying across the sky with brooms and all of that hocus pocus and all these things. And you maybe even have seen the movie Hocus Pocus. What about The Crucible, the movie The Witch, or watch the show An American Horror Story? I mean, there's no shortage of these intriguing, scary stories, okay, about covens of witches and things of the like. All right. Okay, Terry says a pagan holiday. Exactly. Trisha said beggar ween, as Marlon Wayans called it. Is that what he called it? Not beggar ween. Now that's a good one. Okay. Likes up, everyone. Please get those likes up. Thank you in advance. Now, let's talk about Samhain rituals, Hawthorne, and the thinning of the veil. I wonder if I'm pronouncing this right. Hold on, beloveds. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I'm saying it wrong. It's called Samhain. That's what it says. Hold on. Okay, I'm glad I checked into that because I was saying it all wrong. Now it's spelled Samhain. It looks like Sam Hain, but it's Samhain. That's the way you say it, Samhain. Okay, so now let's get into it. So what is Samhain? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, in the Celtic calendar, Samhain marks the end of summer and the harvest season and the beginning of the dark, cold winter months. Now, it falls opposite Beltane on May the 1st, okay, which was rebranded by the church as May Day, which represents the beginning of spring and the life-filled growing season. Okay, Samhain. Now, with that all being said, let me just change this on the screen. Okay, so it is believed that the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest on Samhain. Historically, people were worried that they would encounter ornery spirits if they ventured outside on Samhain night. So they dressed as ghosts or wore masks to disguise themselves. See, that's initially why they would put on masks and costumes. Isn't that something? So they're trying to disguise themselves from these spirits that they thought might do something to them, ornery spirits. Now, folks would leave treats on their front porch or place an extra setting at the table to welcome any friendly spirits who stop by. Okay, hence the children coming and knocking on your door for candy. I guess they're the little nefarious spirits now. Okay, you can see how these Samhain rituals easily morphed into our modern day version of trick or treating in costume. So nighttime bonfires were another of the long-standing Samhain rituals. Now, this one was thought to help combat the impending darkness of winter and the fearful chill that accompanied the idea of roaming spirits, because the veil between living and dead is believed to be the thinnest on this night. Samhain is also a powerful night for divination and spell casting by candlelight. Now, Samhain and the hawthorn tree. So it's believed that fairies live in hawthorn trees, and branches should be only be harvested on Beltane, so as not to disturb them and bring misfortune to your family. It's also said that you have the best chances of seeing fairies if you spend time near a lone hawthorn tree on Beltane, midsummer or Samhain. But be warned, Thomas the Rhymer, a 13th century Scottish poet, sat under a hawthorn tree and then reported that a fairy queen took him to the underworld for 7 whole years. Now, I find this all nefarious. The hawthorn tree also has darker associations with death, corpses, and magic. They say Christ's crown was made of hawthorn branches, and people in medieval times associated the smell of hawthorn flowers with that of rotting corpses. Now, witches' brooms are said to be made from hawthorn wood, and hawthorn wands were believed to be especially powerful. So this seems like it's a little similar to that wood from the holly tree. The hawthorn trees can often be found planted near ancient cemeteries, stone circles, and relics, guarding the locals from spirits of the past. Hawthorns planted near sacred wells were believed to have powerful healing properties, and people would tie rags to the branches with the belief that the healing properties would be absorbed by the rag. We now know that hawthorn does indeed share a rich apothecary with us through its flowers, leaves, and berries, many of which are featured, okay, in products that contain hawthorn and honey. Now, with that all being said, Samhain and rituals and herbs. Okay, so they say this is more than just dressing up in costume or going trick-or-treating. You may enjoy some of the earth-centered herbal Samhain rituals. No thanks. Okay, and then they tell you about some of the herbs that they use. They use mugwort, rowan. They use apples, and they make this apple and hawthorn berry tea. Okay, I think I've heard enough about that. I won't be using any of it for anything. Please pay attention. So with that all being said, we're going to get to these videos in just a moment. But before we do, let's talk about Halloween's demonic origins. Okay, now Halloween began as a religious festival dedicated to Samhain, okay, the Lord of Death in some ancient European belief systems. Various sources relate that on October the 31st, Samhain would dispatch spirits to attack and harass humans. Sounds like demons if you ask me. So, as time passed in those parts of the world celebrating this festival, this day and its night became increasingly darker, characterized by belief in wandering ghosts, goblins, zombies, vampires, black cats, bats, demons, and other symbols of the occult and the underworld. Now, the day also gradually took on significance for devil worshippers, some of whom came to believe that October the 31st was the day the devil's help could be invoked for divinations. Okay, in other words, divinations, for those of you who don't really are not really versed on that, it's basically seeking knowledge of future events. Okay, now concerning marriages, health issues, finances, decisions, etc. So the first objective of the divine law, well, is the preservation of monotheism and the worship of Allah. Pursuant to this objective, idolatry is in all of its manifestations has been forbidden. And this is in Islam. Okay, we're going to skip past all of this because they're basically talking about um, what certain religions believe about this. With that all being said, here's the long and short of it. Halloween is connected directly to satanic practices. Okay, that's why it's associated with scary things like witches, people dressed up like the devil, malevolent spirits, and all of that. And another thing is, even the practice of putting a wreath on your door. People put wreaths on their door during Christmas, but some people have wreaths on the door year round. Those were supposed to draw in spirits. Okay, and Laverne said jack-o'-lanterns are evil looking anyway. Oh, yeah, that depends on the carver. Absolutely. Nandy said apple was applied in the Bible, in the biblical Eve lore too. That's right, because they never said that Eve bit the apple. They never said an apple. Didn't they just say it was fruit? Okay, so now with that all being said, we're going to get into some of these videos because I really want you all to see this because I found some of them quite interesting. And some of them just outright ridiculous, okay? Just ridiculous. So I'm going to share my screen. And some of are news clips of, people who may have caused a confusion based off of the Halloween decorations that they may have had in their yard and things like that. And so Some of them are just for entertainment purposes. Okay, just to give you a laugh. Okay, so now with that all been said, let's get into it. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go. Hold on, beloveds. Okay. Now I'm going to share my screen. Now, this is a clip of a woman. Looks like she's at a Walmart, and she seems to have seen uh, uh and she's just going all ballistic. Okay. Okay, I call that one screaming Karen. I don't know why she was so upset um by that. I don't know why that bothered her so. Okay, here we go.
As someone who was a second generation, let's talk about all the things that actually happen in the spirit on Halloween that you are not going to see in the natural realm. As someone who was a second generation white witch for over a decade, you can trust what I have to say. Let me say this first. I'm not asking you to change anything, okay? I know that you see videos around this time of year every year of Christians saying, don't do this, you can't say this, you can't. This isn't that. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm not asking you to stop anything. I am only asking you to listen to a real life experience and things that factually actually happen in the spirit and in the natural around this time of year and take it to the Lord in prayer and ask for his heart on it. That's all I'm asking you to do. It is between you and the Lord, whatever you and your family decide to do. But what is between me and the Lord is that I'm obedient to his word. In Ephesians 5:11, it says, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. So let's get into it. To understand first that this is the season of the witches is one of the most important things that you can realize. The witches, the warlocks, the Satanists, the occultists, the New Agers, they all know that this season of the year is extremely spiritually charged, and you will therefore see the repercussions of that in the natural. Anyone that partakes in this season in a spiritual manner of this such will tell you point blank period to your face that on the night of Halloween, the spiritual veil is at its thinnest, and they will spend half the year to the entire year preparing for this one night. The thing that makes me sad about that is to realize that the devil spends 364 days a year preparing strategically in the spirit for one single day to come against Christians, and what we see Christians doing is partaking in that day along with them. Instead of spending 364 days defending strategy against the devil, makes you think, who is more dedicated to mission here? But honestly, I don't blame them. The Bible says that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. It's simply because they just don't know. A list of things that you should know starting this year to protect you and your family is number one, in the stores where you go and find these costumes that you can dress your kids up with, you can dress yourselves up with. These aisles have been hexed. They have been cursed. There have been rituals and even sacrifices placed over these costumes so that when you put them on your children and when you put them on yourselves, you are unknowingly coming into a spiritually binding contract, opening a door legally in the spirit to change and alter your identity, even just for one night.
Now, I'm willing to bet some of you think she's just talking crap and don't believe it. But now think about this. I absolutely believe it to be true. And at the end of the day, even though one of my sisters does celebrate Halloween or she dresses up and goes to Halloween parties and things like that, she's always made her and her children, who are adults now, except for one of them, but she has always made their costumes for them, stitched them herself. Okay, because absolutely these things happen. They do these rituals, and I'm not saying that all of the people who make these costumes, but some of them absolutely do engage in rituals. Okay, it's just like I told you about the wigs and weave, putting other people's hair in your head, that you're literally getting stuff that was ritualistically done sometimes. And that attaches itself to you because remember, energy is contagious. So if someone is doing demonic things or, things that are dark, magic, or whatever, then that absolutely can be on you. But let's continue.
You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but if I haven't already lost you, you're in for the long run. Put your daughter in a mermaid costume and wonder why 6 months from now she's having nightmares, sleep paralysis, and she's being monitored by a marine spirit. Number two, that candy is not any different. The candy that's often found in the same aisles as these costumes has had just as many spells, hexes, and curses put over them, except for these are to wish death upon your family, to wish sickness, illness, disease, long-term CANCER, upon you and your family. It is to destroy the temple of the Holy Spirit, specifically and strategically. If you think that these things don't actually happen, my friend, I hope you can continue living in naivety and not ever face the reality of these things, but trust me, they're true. Number 3, all of these demonic decorations that we cover our houses with from top to bottom, our porches, our entryways, our bedrooms. You guys understand the significance of these things. This is where you enter your home. This is where you lay your head down and sleep. These are intimate places that you are covering with demonic altars and inviting and allowing unknowingly demonic unclean spirits to come in and infiltrate your home and giving them a literal welcome sign to doing so. Number 4, carving pumpkins and putting demonic faces on your porch step as if it's not also an altar to the demonic. Sounds crazy until you realize that the origin of this practice came from people being aware of the spiritual veil being thin, aware of the heightened spirituality around this season, and aware of the real demonic spirits behind it. And so they would carve scary faces into pumpkins and paint their abode with them so that it would ward off these evil spirits, and completely unknowingly inviting them in by doing so. Practice literally came from a truthful spiritual awareness, and whereas they had false gods and they were practicing these things in a way that was completely ineffective, they knew. Number 5, if you don't prayer walk around your neighborhood or your home, you should start, because witches, warlocks, they walk around your neighborhood. They're prepared. They're strategizing. They are walking around the perimeter of your neighborhood to take spiritual territory in preparation for that night. They cast spells, they do rituals, their covens get together to form more power in a territorial area. And for the most part, completely unbeknownst to you. I know that I'll have witches and other people commenting on this video saying, well, I don't know what you were in, but I'm not doing any of that. It's all for light and love. Girl, do you think that when I was in it, I thought I was doing anything bad? I surely didn't. When I was going around these places and finding energy charging points and all of these things, I thought it was to help me, but what Satan really had me deceived of was that it was to destroy the kingdom of God. For the most part, nothing that the devil does looks inherently bad, especially when you're in it. Proverbs says that the seeing eye and the hearing ear, they only come from the Lord, and aside from him, you will not be able to see what you are doing and why it's bad. But thankfully, since coming out of witchcraft and giving my life fully to Jesus, living on fire for him and following his word, being a doer and not a hearer only, he has exposed to me the truth around this holiday, the truth of the practices that I was involved in, and the truth of the things that I was lied to and deceived with as tactics and tools for the enemy to use me as I followed him naively. And just to remind you, Satan doesn't reward anybody for free. There's always a trade. Off that soapbox. So what do you do about it? As a Christian, your number one job is to become educated. This means do not be deceived. And the Bible says, like we talked about, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. So what I would have you research is, number 1, the origins of jack-o'-lanterns, the origins of trick-or-treat. I would look up direct quotes from the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, and what he talked about as he prophesied what happens on the night of Halloween to your children and to your family. Look up the origins of Halloween. Now, we can debate all day long if it's a Christian origin, if it's a pagan origin, but here's what I want to ask you. Is it a Jesus thing? Is it a word of God thing? You can tell me it's a Christian thing. You can tell me it's a pagan thing. I know it's a demonic thing. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I've watched it. Nobody would ever be able to convince me otherwise in a million years. I know it is demonic. However, you can debate the origin all day if you want to, but ask Jesus, does it please you? Does it honor you? Am I glorifying you in it? Does it add to the kingdom? Is it beneficial to your people? Number 2, tell your kids the truth. Tell them the truth. They might be young, they can handle the truth. It says, come to me like a child. Those who do not come to me like a child cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Have childlike faith. How many times does the Bible have to say that children can accept the truth for us to actually believe it and practice it? I will come out with a video next after this that talks about how you can tell your children and what you can do with them instead. But some quick tangibles here is, number 1, dress them in the armor of God. I mean, you can literally go on Amazon and find full sets of the armor of God for them to put on that night, and educate them on why we put them on, especially on this night. Educate them on what each piece of armor means. Educate them. Don't let your children perish for a lack of knowledge. If you want to decorate your home in preparation for Halloween, teach your children and teach yourself about the Passover scripture. Talk to them about how when the angel of death came by their house was anointed with the blood of the lamb and the angel passed over their home. Explain this to them. Anoint your home, anoint your doorstep. Go on prayer walks together around the neighborhood. Help them help you prepare for this very night. And when the night comes, don't put out your light. Keep your porch lights on. Keep your door open. Have more productive things to hand out to people. Bibles, scripture, books, note cards, whatever it may be. Prayer. Just offer the gospel. Do not let this one night a year have you cowering away as a Christian and doing nothing about it because you know the truth and you're scared of it. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." Last spiritual insight that I'll give you from an X-Switch that you will not see in the natural, but is crucial for you to know, is that when a Christian and when their home and family are covered in the blood of the Lamb and they are prayed over, anointed up, what witches, warlocks, occultists, Satanists, and the enemy overall sees in the spirit is a blue light, which is the Holy Spirit, and blood dripping from head to toe, and they're completely invincible. So armor up. And one more thing. Let this be the year 2024 that you and your family decide to reject Halloween once and for all.
All right, y'all heard what she said. Okay. Now, with that all been said, we're going to listen to this man who's a former Satanist and warlock, and he has some things to say. Okay. He's telling the dark truth about Halloween. So please pay attention. Now, I'm going to share my screen so you all can hear this. All right. Don't get scared now.
Satanism and worshiping. Tell us a little bit about where you were in relation to Satanism and worshiping the devil.
Well, 25 years, 8 years old, little boy, 8 years old, demon church, learned being trained by high-ranked devil worshipers, warlock, and spiritual witches, training me to know how to take over territory, demonic contracts, different demon territory, demons, principalities, first, second heaven. I was being trained all the way to the age of 35, sold my soul to the devil, got married in Halloween, had a demonic wedding in Halloween. I baptized my daughter to the dark side at the age of 11. So that was my whole entire life. I mean, I breathed, ate, and slept witchcraft. Wow. Astral projecting. I will astral project over region, leave my body, astral project, curse the region, because if I can curse the region, I can capture the people.
Knowing what you came from and what you used to do, you're pretty discouraged that you see Christians celebrating Halloween. Why?
I don't know how you can cheat on God. I don't know how you can cheat on the Lord Jesus Christ, because I don't see Satan as coming on Good Friday and coming and hanging out with us, right? You know, I got married in Halloween. I had a demonic wedding. Why would you put your kids, your family? Why would you put your purpose, your destiny? Why would you put your whole eternity in a demonic altar?
But people say it's just fun, candy. Kids are having costumes on. Well, but you said it's much more.
The candy, you know, I never shared this before, but this candy, people from different walks of life pray over these candies. Witchcraft, they pray over the candies. You knock on people's door, you don't know the person that you're not gonna know she's a witch. Okay, you don't know she's a witch. She's doing Wicca. She's practicing New Age, and you knock on her door, and you come in legal rights of this witch or this wall, or this person's practicing this stuff, giving you this kind of candy. Now you're taking that stuff home, you put that stuff into your body, amen. And on top of that, I'm Tom Levain said, out of his mouth, you know, he was the ruler of the Church of Satan, right? Out of his mouth, he said, I want to thank every Christian parent for allowing their child to celebrate Halloween one time a year, the devil's holiday. And it took Adam and Eve to lose everything because of one mistake. It took Esau one circumstance to lose his birthrights. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So why would you bring that kind of curse into your house and curse your family from 3 to 4 generations? So when your kids is 5 and you think it's cool, you dress them up. Once you put a costume on someone, see the trick of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, they were made in the image of God. They were made in God's perfect image, right? The devil tricked them with sin and changed their identity. Yeah. And once you put the costume on the kid, I don't care if you dress them up as Noah, I don't care if you dress them up as Abraham. Once you put this costume on Halloween, the birthright of Halloween, you're changing your kid's identity. The purpose of the destiny has been canceled unless you renounce it and bring it back.
So you guys heard that. You better renounce it, okay? If you've had your children dressing up for Halloween ever, you have to renounce it and bring it back. Y'all heard what he said. Now, he's a Satanist, so I believe he knows, a former Satanist at that. Okay, so this is all getting real creepy real quick. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's go to where they talk about these sacrifices. Let's go to that. This is all nefarious. Okay, now listen to this. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share.
Human sacrifice. Halloween is the number one time of year for the most human sacrifice to the devil on the planet. People go, that's ridiculous. Halloween's just about candy. It's not. In fact, in New York City, Father Labar was telling me that it's the number one week leading up to Halloween where the most homeless go missing. There's these unmarked vans that come around and offer to take them to shelters and get meals for them, and they just bind them and they keep them and they satanically sacrifice them on Halloween. But there is a story I came upon about a year ago of a Swiss banker, and he was also brought into this whole group where they were doing human sacrifice, and he knew he was going to have to do it at some point. And so he went to a journalist and recorded everything. And he said in his, basically his story of what was going on, I don't expect to be alive in a week. 3 days later, he was found face down in a bog, dead.
The reason why the demons are allowed to afflict people is that ultimately they're the instrument of our sanctification. And God allows them into our life because by having to combat them, we attain a level of virtue and sanctity that we wouldn't. We would just be mediocre spiritually a lot. And in fact, some of the holiest people I've ever met were people who they're possessed, but then they start the spiritual battle, they start developing the virtue, and they become some of the holiest people I've met.
Okay, so you all heard that, right? I find it all very interesting. Reggie said, I'm gonna start making my own candy, like things like pecan brittle and chocolate brittle. It's easy. Okay. I make my own candy sometimes. Okay, so now I'm gonna share my screen. Now, this is that same pastor speaking again, and this time he's talking about an exorcism. Because as I told you, some of these priests carry out and perform these exorcisms on Halloween because they say it's easier to draw out these demons because it's when the veil is thin and it's when these spirits are out and about, supposedly. Okay, don't get me to lying because I don't do exorcisms.
In New York City, one of the worst cases I've ever heard was from the Exorcist of New York City. The woman, a young girl, Juilliard, a violinist, and she was about to graduate. She was brilliantly talented, but all of her friends were getting job offers and she had none. And her friends remember always hearing her say the words, I would do anything to be famous. Well, guess who's listening? It wasn't long after that she went to bed one night, had a dream, and she said in the dream was the most beautiful man she'd ever seen naked, another sign, calling card of the devil. And he said, you really want fame and power? And she said, I do. And he produced a contract, and he took his finger and slashed her finger and had her sign it in her blood. And then he touched the contract and it burst into flames and the ashes fell on the floor. So pretty easy to understand what happened, right? But what's worse is her finger was cut and the ashes were next to the bed. So within a couple of weeks, she signs this multinational tour, makes a ton of money, becomes very popular and famous on this circuit. And within a few years, she gets involved with drugs, goes to needles, gets HIV. Now she's dying in a New York hospital. And this whole thing comes back to how this started. And she calls her Filipino mother and tells her the story. And mommy calls the chancery. I need an exorcist right away for my daughter. So Jim is the exorcist. He shows up and they tell him the whole story from the dream forward. And he says, okay, well, that's not good. You signed a blood covenant with the devil. So I'm going to need you to break that with a blood covenant. So you're going to write out the whole creed and then you're going to sign it in your blood. Well, the doctor's like, she has AIDS. She's not signing anything in blood. Not going to happen. And he says, well, then you need to step out of the room because she needs to do this. And she did do it. And she signed the contract, the creed, and she convulses and flatlines and dies. So now the doctor comes back and he's really upset. The mother is out of her mind. They're all blaming the priest. Hysteria goes on for about 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden she jumps up off the table. She's back. And they test her. No HIV, no AIDS. She's completely healed. She then committed for the rest of her life to only do music that would honor God and to tell people about the reality of the devil and not to make deals with him.
Okay, this is all nefarious. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all see the look on that man's face, honey? He was just as shocked as I was. Okay, please pay attention. This is all true. You see, because she had to break the tie that bound them together. And the thing is that the devil will, in fact, cause illnesses and sickness, demons. As I told you all when we were talking about those 72 demons from the Lesser Key of Solomon, each of these demons have specific tasks that they carry out, and many of those tasks for some of them are to make people ill. Okay, people that are sick are sometimes sick because of demons. Okay, now please pay attention. Now we're going to talk about, there's this man who's going to describe satanic rituals on Halloween, or All Hallows Eve as some call it. So lights up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Continued Hobbes was initiated into a satanic coven as a child by his grandfather and continued participating for many years. I recently asked Glenn about his involvement and the importance of Halloween to the occultist.
I was involved in it as a child. Of course, I was a generational Satanist, what they call a generational Satanist. And what that means is that my family was involved in it and their family before them.
Glenn, could you tell us about your involvement in any rituals at Halloween as a child?
There was another little girl that was involved in the occult with me, and her name was Becky. Now, Becky was a different type of child. She was blessed to be a sacrifice. I was being blessed to be a high priest, where she was being blessed and born into the coven there to be a sacrifice. Now, we were in a ritual where we were married together. It was a marriage to the beast. And me and the little girl were married together, and there was a lot of sex took place and a lot of blood that was spilt over us, joining us together.
When do Halloween rituals actually begin, and what is the ultimate purpose of Halloween?
Well, the ritual that I remember the most clearly began about the end of September. Me and the little girl, the one I mentioned named Becky, was very concentrated at that time. We were taken into several rooms where our clothing was removed. We spent the next couple of weeks in a kind of a shack where a lot of rituals went on, where a lot of animals were killed. They summoned Lucifer and his spirit to come and possess me, and so that I would be blessed to take over the position of the high priest at a certain point in time. Now, Halloween night, they had again put me and the little girl in the back of this van, and we again drove off, which seemed like for a long time. We were driving once again, and we finally came to this stop. They took the little girl out and they left me in the van. I could hear a lot of commotion that was going on outside. People that were screaming and yelling and this low murmuring and moaning noise that was going on, like some kind of a low chanting noise that was going on. So I knew in my mind there was some type of a ritual going on, because I'd heard that many times before. You know, it was real common to see people fall on the ground and convulsion and go into convulsions during rituals and stuff with the demonic presence that were around. And finally, a woman came to the back of the van and she said, "It's time to go." And she brought me out of the van, and I could see that there was just a lot of people around. Some were dressed in dark brownish kind of robes with hoods over them. They took me up and they led me up to this stone altar. And I remember I saw the little girl, and she was on the altar. Now, at first, you know, I just wondered what was going on, because you never knew. I mean, they used the altar for a lot of different things. They could have just been sending an animal over, could have been a abuse from the high priest onto her. You know, it was a hard thing to know for sure. Well, they ushered me up to the altar, and I could see that they had bound her feet. They had her feet spread apart, her legs, and they had bound them to the ends of the altar, and they had taken her arms which were laying out this way, and roped them to the altar, which had little kind of like hooks, which they could bind the ropes around. And she was really white. Just I remember seeing her, and she was just real pale and real white. And I noticed that they had slit the bottoms of her feet and her wrists, and they were taking the blood that was running out of those areas and putting them into chalices and passing those cups around to different people who were partaking of her blood. Then the high priest, he took the athami, or the ritual knife, and he picked it up and he put my hand on it, and then he forced it into her chest. So when I think back on Halloween, you know, over that period of time that happened, you know, that was the climax event, Halloween night, where they killed that innocent little girl. And this is something that's happening every Halloween. That's not just an isolated event. I mean, there are children all over the world who are losing their lives during Halloween night. And yet we, as a society, we go out and celebrate it, and we go door to door and we ask for candy, and it's a big celebration to us. And I think it's quite ironic how one group of people are thinking it's fun and another group of people are taking human life, and yet they don't, you know, there seems to be this wall and nobody wants to face the
Also nefarious. Now, you all may remember, maybe it was 2021 or 2022, when I did a story about a little boy who was a teenager who was 17 years old by the name of Bobby Kwawan Charles. And he went to visit a friend of his. The friend's mother picked him up, and then he was never seen alive again. He was found dead. And they took him, and supposedly he died on Halloween night. And I think that they were performing a ritual. And I, in fact, said that because I said it's no coincidence that he supposedly died on the night of Halloween. And when they came and got him, they claimed that he left their house walking. Okay, if you all remember that story from the other channel, they absolutely did some sort of ritual on him, in my opinion. So now we're going to talk about Anton LaVey, who was the founder of the Church of Satan, because supposedly it has been rumored that Anton LaVey actually died when he was, that's right, Reggie said, in the sugarcane field. Exactly, beloved. Now, they say that Anton LaVey died astral projecting and that he became detached from his silver cord. For those of you who don't know what the silver cord is, the silver cord is supposedly something that connects your soul to your body. So like if or your spirit to your body. So like if you go out astral projecting, the spirit has to be able to re-enter this shell that we call a body. And that cord is what, you know, is able to find its way back to you. If you've seen the movie Insidious, I believe it was something along the lines of that. So basically, supposedly Anton LaVey got out of his body or was astral projected and couldn't get back in. Now that's what the legend says. But let's get into it. Lights up, everyone, please. Like and share.
You're about to hear something. In this next testimony, you're about to hear something truly amazing. You're about to find out what happens when a witch or a warlock astral projects into somebody's body during a deliverance, and the pastor prays and asks God to cut their silver cord. The story you're about to find out about is how Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, died while he was astral projecting and attacking someone during a deliverance. The person that he was attacking was his very own daughter.
Said, "You've killed the high priest." And we begin to rebuke it, ask what its name was. It said, "I'm Leviathan, I'm the power spirit of Anton LaVey, and you killed the Black Pope," which was a title that Anton LaVey used of himself. And so we rebuked the spirit, and it left, and we were just left looking at each other and saying, well, apparently Anton's dead. The next thing that happened is another spirit manifests through Deborah Joy and said, "You've killed my father, you're a murderer." And when the spirit said, "You killed my father," I knew it was either Carla or Zena LaVey. And so I asked what spirit are you? Are you Carla or Zena? It was Zena. And she said, how dare you? You killed the Black Pope. And we simply said, well, Zeta, you know that we have authority to do that. And so you need to get back into your body, leave Deborah Joy, or we'll cut your cord also. And she instantly, she disappeared. She left Deborah Joy. And that was on Halloween night of 1997. It's been many years ago now, but it's so vivid in our memory because at that point, no one else in the world knew that Anton LaVey had died. But we knew not only that he had died, but he had died in a battle, a spiritual contest between spirit-filled Christians and his occult coven. And so, and it was the next day that we heard that Anton had died of cardiopulmonary, his heart had stopped. And the story after that, of course, is the demise of the Church of Satan. It never has recovered.
We brought in a young broken lady into our
Oh, honey, this is all nefarious. Okay, you all heard that. So let's go to part 2. This is all juicy information. Creepy, but juicy nonetheless.
Witch goes out in the astral realm, and especially in witchcraft. If a witch goes out on the astral plane, astral projecting, and stays too long, or something goes wrong, and their silver cord breaks or is cut, and they can't get back into the body, and so they're trying to re-enter the meat sack, right, the body, and they can't get back in, and so they call it bouncing. And she said Anton bounced, and I said we were praying to cut his silver cord. She said, well, I came too, and Anton had left her, his spirit man had left her, and was trying to get back into his body and wasn't able to. Well, most of that occult realm are seers, and they can see things that are invisible to the rest of us. So the coven, they saw that he wasn't able to get back into his body. So the entire coven gathered around him. He was their Black Pope, right? And so they began conjuring and calling on Satan, and please help the Black Pope. Well, now she's laying on a couch watching them across the room, all gathered around him. She just jumped up, ran out the door.
So listen, I'm going to stop right there because you all already heard this part. I actually was multitasking. Okay, I actually was multitasking. So didn't know that this was the same. He was saying the same thing over. I thought it was the second part. Now, with that all been said, can you imagine? Now they're in this crisis and they're sitting there calling on Satan to help them. Honey, Satan's the reason you're in this predicament. Surely he's not going to help you get out of it. Okay, surely he's not going to help you get out of it. So that's what they say happened to Anton LaVey. Now, with that all been said, let's hear what his daughter has to say. Now, this is a brief clip of her talking about why they make music. And I've played this out for you on the main channel. I'm going to play this on there again, too, for those who missed it. Because listen to this.
Purpose. We make music for a purpose. It's not just background music, or it's not just, fluffy, light stuff.
This is not elevator satanic music.
No.
It's ritualistic music. It is music that by even the act of listening to it, you are participating in a satanic ritual.
Yes, this stuff is deep, dark, and heavy, but guess what? God gave us dominion over the devil.
Okay, so you all heard that. She said that you're participating in a satanic ritual when you're listening to certain types of music. And this is very true. And because I've told you, they do nefarious things to this music before it even hits the stands to be sold. Okay, but also Anton LaVey said himself at one point, he said that he is so glad and grateful that parents allow their children to worship Satan at least one night a year. So that's what he thinks of Halloween. That's what he thought of it. He said the parents allow their children to worship Satan at least once a year. Okay, so that should tell you all you need to know. And if you want to see how creepy this man was, hold on. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. This man reminds me of Diddy. I showed you all, I did a TikTok video where I was showing how Diddy, when he went to the Met Gala with what's her name, Young Miami, he was dressed like his outfit looked similar to something Anton LaVey wore. Okay, please pay attention. We already know what Diddy was doing, allegedly.
Founder of the Church of Satan, who the man that you see here is Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, who dedicated his life to promoting evil. But on his deathbed, these unexpected words will shock you.
He was on his deathbed, and for a Satanist at the time of death, it's a great victory for them. And he was getting ready to die and pass on his powers and that. And on his deathbed, he must have got some revelation or an angelic appearance or something. And he went into shock and he said, "Oh my. Oh my, what have I done?" He said, "There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong." Wow. And his whole life had been spent propagating these satanic beliefs, getting everyone to believe. And then at the end of his life, he gets this light that comes to him.
Don't let the devil deceive you. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Subscribe or follow if you agree.
Y'all heard that, right? Reggie said, "Queen, when are we having a movie night?" You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, beloved. We're definitely going to have movie night, okay? Let me just work on that, okay? I will let you all know by this weekend. But I want you all to pay attention. By Saturday, let's say Saturday, because tomorrow's Friday. With that all been said, don't y'all find that interesting? He had the nerve to say, "Oh," he was like all scared. "I've messed up." Yeah, you did mess up, buddy. Too late now. Okay, you know what he probably saw? He probably saw those same demons that he's been conjuring all that time when he was working with his satanic church. He probably saw those same demons coming to get him, okay? And the angels on the other side laughing like, "Huh, this is what you did. You made your bed, so lie in it." At the end of the day, now you want to realize you messed up. This is all nefarious. Now here he is right here. Let's listen to the man himself. Okay, the nefarious and the notorious Anton LaVey.
Would like to kill animals, sacrifice animals. I would say that they would make ideal human sacrifices. That would say that Satanists would like to kill animals, sacrifice animals. I would say that they would make ideal human sacrifices. I love animals. I've always been part of animals. Animals are part of me. I believe that all churches of all denominations should be taxed to the hilt. If churches were taxed as any other business, because that's what they are, simply businesses, if they were taxed, the national debt would be wiped out overnight.
Yeah, it's a no for me. Okay, Rick said he's dark and against humanity, God's creation, okay? It's all crazy. Let's continue just a few more videos. Okay, now this one, these last few, I believe, are just for fun. I think these are some people's Halloween decorations that I thought was so nefarious. I'm like, first of all, I'm like, who does this for Halloween? Some people just really go above and beyond to try to scare people. Reggie said just perverted and twisted, creating nothing. Luna said, no for me, Queen. Okay, definitely a no for me. That Crazy Beach Eric said he better go somewhere. Hey, Christy One Love. Okay, now listen to this.
Check out this gruesome. Has
Look at
Halloween
this.
finally gone too far? Check out this gruesome crime scene in New Jersey. You can see how someone might mistake this for a real accident. There's a body on the ground here. This what appears to be crime scene tape, but it's actually zombie crossing tape. And then here we have a car smashed against a tree with a body pinned against it.
It is kind of violent, and I don't like violence.
This display in Tennessee actually had people thinking it was real and led to a 911 call.
There's a guy laying up there in his driveway next to the house. There's two big bloody handprints on the side of the house. He looks at me like he's dead.
This display depicts hanging babies. And this one shows a woman who has been knifed to death.
It's very disturbing.
On Instagram, we asked our viewers to weigh in. 55% said yes, these displays are way too much. 45% say no, it's Halloween mischief. What do you think of the brouhaha over this decoration? You think it's in poor taste, or is it just...
Well, if you didn't know, and especially some of the older people may think it's, real.
Most people need to stop. They know they're doing too much. You're done giving somebody a heart attack, okay? That would be you, Queen, if you celebrated Halloween, LOL, with the crime scene. I know, right? Oh my goodness, but that's just a little too scary. It looks so real. Somebody could just literally pass out from walking up on that.
Absolute.
Now look at this.
Okay, this wins for the absolute creepiest.
Look at their yard.
Lawn display I have ever seen in my life. Wow.
Now that was creepy. And how they get all those little things to stand up? Okay. Nessa G said these people are sick. I mean, you would have to be to even come up with these ideas. All right. Very crazy. Okay, here's another one. It's like 2 more videos, then we're out of here. Now this is just ridiculous. Like stuff, everyone, please like and share. But of course, DC said, got enough horror stories already. Just so hilarious. Look at this. So they went all out. Went all out. C-Stan said, blessings, Queen. It's my B-Day today. Well, happy return, beloved. All right. Happy birthday to you. Thanks for giving me a donation on your birthday. All right. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day. Look at this thing. Look at that smoke. Brandon said, where do they store all this stuff? I know, right? They probably just put it up, box it up, and put it in their garage until next Halloween. I know it had to take some real time to put that together. It's real creative, but spooky nonetheless. And then what do they use for that smoke? Probably dry ice, I would imagine. Well, they certainly went all out. As you can see, some people really love these nefarious holidays, specifically Halloween. And I was just thinking about Diddy, because Halloween is one of Diddy's, if not Diddy's favorite holiday. Okay, remember I told you all about how he dressed up like Batman, and then he dressed up like Joker, and then he got into it, that actor from Power, and then they asked him not to dress up like Joker anymore. So then the next year he dressed up like Batman instead. I mean, they literally sent him like a cease and desist. That's how nefarious he was. Please pay attention. Okay, now here's another one. This is a delivery man. I forget what happened to him, but it's something to do with Halloween. Hold on. Okay, here we go.
Hi.
Packages.
Oh, you made it. I didn't think you guys were gonna make it. Thank you so much. Oh wait, is this
Yep,
is not the
that's-
right one though.
Just call the customer service there.
Okay.
Can you sign right there?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, just call it a 1-800 number. on
I'll
there.
do that. I'll do
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Yep. You got it. Thanks. Okay. All right. Oh, God. Sorry, check your drawers.
Sorry.
Okay, he tried that with me, honey. He might have gotten punched in the chin. Okay, is all I'm saying. Okay, now let's look at this last video. Now, this is a video of a security guard at work. And I saw this yesterday on Instagram. It's a security guard at work who looks like he sees a ghost or something. He's talking, but you don't see anybody there.
It's not until he says the person's name for when things get creepy. Take a look.
Dispatch to 329.
329, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to a elderly lady. I saw her walking by the store, and she said she's looking for Mr. Griffin. Her name is Miss Abigail.
Did you say Miss Abigail?
Yes, ma'am. She says she wants to see Mr. Griffin, and I told her that the canvas is closed, that she should come tomorrow morning, and she might see Mr. Griffin.
Are you sure you're saying Miss Abigail? Like, she's been passed on for 2 years now.
Come again with that, please?
Miss Abigail she died 2 years ago.
You mean you can't see the person I'm talking to?
No, there's nobody in front of you at all.
Talking to. It's not until
Did y'all see that? Reggie said, so he didn't know the woman was expired. Clearly not. If he's standing there talking to her, honey, he saw her. Okay, this is all crazy and creepy. Let me tell you guys something. If you know one of the main places where you see spirits and things like that, I would imagine would be at a cemetery, a morgue, but definitely at the hospital. I've encountered them at the hospital, okay? I was in the hospital once and I was in the room by myself at night, and something grabbed both of my ankles and pulled me to the foot of the bed. I'm not even joking. Okay, pulled me to the foot of the bed, literally. And then when I was telling the nurse about it, the nurse told me that something tapped her on her shoulder when she was in the break room one day. And there was nobody there but her. Okay, so just think about it. People die in hospitals, the spirits leave the body. And so you can imagine. Okay. C-Stan said nursing homes. All right. That would be a good place too. Oh, hell no. Also said nursing homes. Yep. Okay. Reggie said a full manifestation. Okay. So with that all being said, I hope you all enjoyed this broadcast because it was fun for me. I'm going to go ahead and conclude the broadcast, and I hope to see y'all in the morning on the other channel for your morning wake-up call. Okay, so again, C-Stan, happy solar return, beloved. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. And for everyone else, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. The next time we meet, we'll be talking about the greater key of Solomon. All right, peace.